Great. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Warnock.
Thank you very much, Chair Cantwell. My colleagues on this committee may be tired of hearing me say it, and I may be a little bit biased, but I believe that Georgia is this country's most important aviation state. We're home to the world's busiest. I appreciate all the amens in the. Georgia's home to the world's busiest airport in Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, the headquarters of Delta Airlines, and over 100 public use airports across the state. According to the Georgia Department of Economic Development, aerospace products are both the state's top export and its second largest manufacturing industry, responsible for $57 billion in annual economic impact. Most importantly, Georgia's aviation industry employs more than 108,000 people across more than 800 different companies. That said, like many industries, aviation faces a widespread workforce shortage, affecting both commercial aviation and the FAA's air traffic controlling staffing, which should concern all of us. Mr. Whitaker, how do we meet this moment and build a more sustainable, representative, and resilient aviation workforce?
Thank you, Senator. I think building the workforce pipeline for the aviation industry is a key priority, starting with the controller workforce, but also in piloting, mechanics, other professions. These are all good professions. We need to cast as wide a net as we can, and we need to build a pipeline of folks coming through to take these jobs. So it is a priority.
I agree with you, and I want to zero in on that phrase that you just said. You said we need to cast a net as wide as we can, and I couldn't agree with you more. And I believe that the best way to foster a well-trained aviation workforce is to invest in aviation education. I think often about a young man that I met down in Georgia a few months ago. His last name escapes me, but Ezekiel was his first name. And he had that light in his eye that you like to see in a young person. He had found that passion, that thing that you know, you wake up in the morning wanting to do. He wanted to be a pilot. And he was very well qualified, was making progress. But years into trying to become a pilot and thousands of dollars of his own money trying to meet the requirements, he was still struggling to get there. And it's entirely too hard for too many of our young people. And he had this kind of persistence and passion that not everybody has. And so that's why I was proud to introduce the Airways Act earlier this year, and why I'm working with my colleagues to expand the FAA's workforce development grant programs in the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2023. It's also my belief that once authorized, these grants should help more schools, including state and technical colleges, train students from rural and non-traditional communities to work in the aviation industry, all at a reasonable cost. We need all of our talent, all of our brilliance of all of our young people, regardless of their zip code. If confirmed, will you commit to working with me to ensure that the FAA's Workforce Development Grant Program reaches students who don't typically enter the aviation field, whether they're mechanics or pilots or aviation engineers?
I can, Senator, and I feel part of my job would be to be the chief recruiting officer for the FAA, but also for the industry, making FAA an employer of choice, so I would welcome that role.
Thank you so very much, and I look forward to working with you on this issue. On another matter, this past weekend, Congress narrowly avoided a government shutdown. I commend my colleagues who supported this bipartisan funding bill, though I fear that we may find ourselves right back here in just a few short weeks. A reckless government shutdown would hurt countless Georgians, including the over 1,700 local TSA agents and almost 600 air traffic controllers in Georgia who would be required to work without pay during a shutdown. Mr. Whitaker, you may find yourself in the unenviable position of being confirmed as FAA Administrator and immediately facing the prospect of a government shutdown. How would a government shutdown, in your opinion, affect the FAA? And if tasked with shepherding the FAA through a government shutdown, how will you lead the agency through this manufactured chaos?
Well, Senator, if it does happen, it won't be the first time it's happened, because it happened when I was there before. I think the biggest impact that I would point out would be on the training of controllers. That would come to a stop. And controllers who are in the training program would no longer be in the tower. So I think that's not the result we would want in this situation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Senator Vance.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you,